Alright everyone, so Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 3 has officially been released and I am here to give you guys my review as always. But before we do guys, I have to ask you that if you want to show your support for the channel, make sure to leave a like, share this video out there, hit the subscribe button if you're new, make sure to ring the bell for notifications, please comment down below with your thoughts, and let's go ahead and get to this review. Now we definitely have a lot to talk about when it comes to this chapter. We get to see Boruto show us just how dangerous this new ability of his actually is. We get to see a reunion between him and Kawaki. We see a reunion between him and his sister Himawari. And we also get to see what possibly could be Boruto's plan with the Ten Tails here in this chapter. And we also get some new information on what the victims of the Claw Grimes are actually going through here in this chapter. And we're going to be talking about all of that. So let's go ahead and get to it. Now, the chapter starts off with where the previous chapter left off. Boruto just debuted his new ability, the Rasengan Uzuhiko, and we see Code is trying to analyze just what this ability actually is. For a second, he thinks it's just like the Vanishing Rasengan, but then realizes it's not because the Vanishing Rasengan is invisible, not to mention it's a long-distance attack, and he can clearly see the chakra whirling around Boruto, and he thinks that the ability isn't really going to mean anything if it can't hit him, and then tries to launch a surprise attack against Boruto using his claw marks to try and get behind him. And then it quickly just does not work because Boruto immediately could tell that Code was trying to sneak up behind him, probably because he's seen Code use this technique so many times that he's figured out just how Code actually uses these claw marks in an actual fight, and then tries to hit him, but then Code manages to catch his attack and then tries to attack him himself, but then Boruto manages to block that attack. And then Code, once again being completely overconfident, thinking that, well, this new ability isn't really much because it can't even hit me. And then Boruto once again reminds him that no, for him, killing him is actually very easy. In fact, his ability is already halfway there, and then Code notices that Boruto's Rasengan is starting to swirl around his own arm, and then immediately starts to try and dismiss it, thinking that it doesn't matter. Once again, just being completely overconfident, not really taking his opponent seriously, which, if you know the Naruto series, if you know how Kishimoto likes to write his characters, whenever you see a character being overconfident, you know it's going to end up biting him in the ass. And then Boruto once again tells Code that this is your last warning, take me to where the Ten Tails is, or you are going to die here. And then Code just does not listen, tries to attack Boruto, but then ends up behind him, tries to attack him again, once again ends up behind Boruto, and then Code is confused as to what's going on because Boruto isn't simply dodging his attacks, he's not using Genjutsu, he's not using Shadow Clones, so what exactly is Boruto doing? And I do have an idea as to just how this ability actually works, and I'm going to save that for its own video, so I'm not going to go too deeply into it here in this review. And then Boruto shows up in front of Code, manages to place his palm on his stomach, states once again Rasengan Uzuhiko, and then blows Code back with an attack. And then Code does manage to regain his composure, but it doesn't last for very long, which we'll see in a minute. But for now, we cut to Ada and Damon. Ada, who of course is watching the whole fight with her Senragan, states that the technique is a lot simpler than they originally thought and is wondering how it's different than just a regular Rasengan. And then Damon comments that Boruto is the one who's making the ground shake, or more specifically, he's making the entire planet shake. So basically confirming that this is a planetary level ability. Or more specifically on how the ability actually works, Damon comments that it's utilizing the actual rotation of the planet itself. And Damon is completely unfazed by this, by the way. He is completely unfazed, which tells us that for as strong as Boruto is, he's probably still not on Damon's level because Damon just is not worried about it at all. In fact, he's actually happy about it because maybe this ability could possibly give him a little bit of a challenge, which he did state to Boruto at the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, the manga. He said that he wants Boruto to get strong enough to be able to allow Damon to actually use his full strength for the first time in his life. And then we cut to Code and we get to see things from his perspective and what this ability actually is. And we see from his perspective, he's seeing a lot of chakra just swirling around. He's seeing Boruto completely switch positions. He's actually spinning. And then because of that, Code can't maintain his own balance and then tells Boruto to tell him what he actually did. And then Boruto comments saying that he wants Code to think of it as a counterattack from the planet that he's actually trying to destroy. And then he clarifies that this is a Rasengan that incorporates the planet's own chakra, or more specifically, its rotation. And that power in and of itself is what's coursing through Code's body right now. And just like how a planet's rotation will never stop, that chakra itself will never stop. So essentially, Boruto is starting to become a lot like Sasuke, not just in how he's dressing, not just in the fact that he only has one eye, but he even has abilities that are very similar to the abilities that Sasuke has. So this ability that never dissipates is a lot like Sasuke's own Amaterasu, which is an ability that never goes away until it completely extinguishes its target. And just like how Sasuke has the ability to switch it off, we find out later on in this chapter that Boruto himself also has the ability to switch off this Rasengan, which is exactly what he tells Code, that I will deactivate the Uzuhiko if you agree to take me to where the Ten Tails. If not, then I'm just going to leave it there and it'll continue spinning until you die, which is what's going to happen. And then before Code could actually give him an answer, Kawaki immediately tries to attack Boruto, who does manage to dodge the attack. And then we see the rest of Team 10 also show up, so I guess they managed to take care of the claw grimes that they were dealing with. And then Boruto sees Himawari, and it's very interesting what's happening here because that stone cold expression that we kept seeing from Boruto ever since he showed up just immediately starts to go away the second he sees Himawari, which is understandable because that is his sister. It's his sister that he loves very much, who does not like when bad things happen to her, even gets mad at Naruto because Naruto wasn't there for Himawari's birthday, which is, again, completely understandable, but then immediately goes back to how he was for like a second. He let his expression actually soften a bit, and we got to see the Boruto that we saw in Boruto Part 1, but he immediately goes back to how he was ever since he showed up in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. And then while he's there, Shikadai asks Boruto why he's in Konoha and what he was discussing with Code. And then Boruto just says, I'm trying to make a deal, just please don't interfere. And then Code tries to use this interaction between them as an opportunity to escape, which Kawaki doesn't allow to happen. He immediately uses his dojutsu to shrink Code's claw marks again, and then reports into Shikamaru what's actually happening. And then Shikamaru tells him to use this opportunity to kill Code. But then Kawaki immediately turns his attention back to Boruto. And then when that happens, Code again uses it as an opportunity to escape by summoning a claw grime, and then uses the claw grime to escape back to the dimension where he's keeping the Ten Tails. And then they report this back to Shikamaru, and then Shikamaru tells them to still be careful, to not see this as Code just completely retreating, because he could probably have something else planned, which is very smart from Shikamaru, because he knows at this point that it's a bad idea to underestimate Code, because for as stupid as Code is, he is still very dangerous. And it's not a good idea to underestimate him, because we know, again, in this universe, underestimating your opponents is never a good idea. Look what just happened with Code by underestimating Boruto and his new ability. It didn't really end all that well for him. And then while this is happening, we cut back to the shinobi who essentially intercepted the claw grime that was about to attack Sarada and then got turned into a tree. Sarada is checking out what happened to get more information on what actually happened to the shinobi. And then she states that just like how the Ten Tails is a creature that turns into a divine tree whenever they eat an otsutsuki, maybe its basic instincts is to start devouring people. And then once it ate this shinobi, or ate in air quotes, it turned into a tree. But then she clarifies that the shinobi isn't dead, he's still alive. So we still don't exactly know what's actually happening here with these claw grimes and what Boruto meant when he said that Code doesn't know the actual horror of the Ten Tails, and that if you don't destroy these claw grimes, we're going to head into the worst possible future. And then we cut back to Boruto and Kawaki makes a comment saying that Boruto, just based on his looks, feels like someone who's been adopted by the Uchiha, And then Boruto just talks back saying that he's happy to know that his smack talk hasn't changed and that he's also happy to see that Himawari is still alive. Almost like he was making a comment towards Kawaki saying that I'm glad you didn't do anything while I was gone to my sister. And then Kawaki asks Boruto why he's here, and that if he is here, he had to know what was going to happen and if he's ready to die. And then Boruto makes a comment saying that dying in Konoha isn't bad, it's just not going to happen today. Which is interesting to me because this is the second comment that we got about Boruto dying. The first one was when Momoshiki revived him, making it very clear to Boruto that if he were to die again, there won't be any resurrections. This is a one-time thing. And now we have another comment from Boruto about how he doesn't mind dying, but it's just not going to happen today, which is very interesting. And I can't help but wonder whether or not this is Kishimoto possibly foreshadowing what's going to happen in the future. And then we see that Boruto has a toad stuffed into his cloak that's right there next to him, right next to his ear. And then it's telling him that it managed to successfully infiltrate the base that Code returned to. And then Boruto asks him if he sees any signs of the Ten-Tail, and then he says no, not yet. And then once Code makes it to the Ten-Tails, that's when it reports back to Boruto saying, I can confirm the Ten-Tails is indeed here. And while we're in this base, we also see that Bug has also been apparently caught by one of these claw grimes and then turned into a tree. And we also see that the Ten-Tails has been basically completely drained of all of its chakra, and we still see the claw marks all over it. And one of them in particular is over its eye, which to me is very interesting. And I can't help but wonder if maybe Code did that on purpose in order to seal away its Rinnegan, or its Rinne Sharingan to be specific. And the fact that Code and the fact that Boruto has these toads does make me wonder, first of all, is this proof that Kashin Koji is indeed still alive and he's actually working with Boruto? Because Boruto is using these toads the exact same way that we saw Kashin Koji use in the Boruto manga, when he was using it to spy on the fight between Naruto and Delta, when he was using it to spy on the fight between Naruto and Sasuke and Jigen, when he was using it to allow Amado, and by proxy he was allowing Naruto, Sasuke, Shikamaru, Sai, and everyone else in that room to also see the fight between himself and Jigen. And then we see Boruto weaving a hand sign, and it's the same hand sign that we saw Sasuke use in his final battle with Naruto when he was absorbing the chakra from the other tailed beasts. And we also saw Madara use the same hand sign when he became the Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki. Obito did the same thing when he became the Ten-Tailed Jinchuriki. So I do wonder what Boruto has planned here. I'm not saying that he's going to do the same thing and that he's going to somehow absorb the Ten-Tails into himself and then keep it sealed inside him. I'm guessing what's probably most likely going to happen is he's going to use a sort of reverse summoning in order to take himself to the Ten-Tails dimension. I'm guessing that's probably what's most likely going to happen. And that's pretty much where the chapter ends. Now, overall, I thought this chapter was okay. Personally, I think they spent a little too much time on the ability that Boruto has and actually showing what it can do. I think they maybe spent a little bit too much time on that. I would have liked it if maybe there was a little bit more time spent on the actual reunion between Boruto and Kawaki, and maybe a little bit more time here in this base, in this dimension where Code is keeping the Ten-Tails. I would have liked if maybe more time was dedicated to that, but other than that, I don't really have any problems with this chapter. With that being said, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you think about what happened in this chapter? What did you think about Boruto's new ability? And what do you think Code is going to do now after he's been defeated again by Boruto? What do you think is going to be Code's plans? And do you think he has anything planned for the Ten-Tails? What do you think Boruto has planned for the Ten-Tails now that his Toad has managed to successfully infiltrate Code's base and able to confirm that the Ten-Tails is indeed there? What do you think Boruto is going to do now? Do you think he is going to use a sort of reverse summoning to take himself there? Or do you think he's maybe got something else planned? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. And also, guys, remember, leave a like, share this video out there, subscribe if you're new, ring the bell for notifications, and make sure to look out for my review for Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 4. Bye for now.